Now is the time to ask the right questions. In any endeavor, there's always the ground and the tipping point. Ensuring stability for a high economy takeoff. People's trust towards their leaders and towards their will to uplift their societies. Investing in people to a better life. Giving an opportunity to develop their skills, their goals, and their vision to the world. Building infrastructure to connect within and reach the world. Calling for openness and make sure you have partners to trade with. And then there is the uniqueness. It could be your history. It could be your diversity. It could be how strategically you're located. It could be your culture. It could also be your dedication, or it could be your natural resources. But first and foremost, to reach the heights, you need a vision. Great ambitions. Stay focused and stick to the plan. Build upon the assets. Value the old and embrace the new. Keep on growing talents to face challenges. Always be sure you can fuel the growth. And that you have partners to overcome drawbacks together. Now is the time to be ahead. Now is the time for agility and sustainable acts. Now is your time.
Think Africa is a non-profit and non-governmental organization that was founded in 2014, and it was started by a group of students who were moved to make a change and break the stereotypes that, especially in Finland, Finnish society had of Africa and of African people, as well as support the integration of the African diaspora into the Finnish society.
When I read through the objective of the organization, it kind of aligned with my sort of advocacy and my mindset and the things that I want to see happen in African diaspora in terms of the empowerment and trying to create a sustainable conditions.
So Think Africa provides a platform, and it's up to people to take advantage of that. So I've done that in multiple occasions, so relating to either employability or entrepreneurship, with leading the Slush side events we've had, and then formulating together with the team this mentorship program that we've had for a couple years now, and that has been the way that I wanted to get involved. And it's just up to each person, how do you want to get involved, whether it's in these topics or other topics.
I really like Think Africa and its goals, because it brings together Africans, and there are not so many associations and entities which do that, and it is very active among Africans and in the Finnish society in general, to promote Africa and give also a realistic image of Africa.
We do think about Africa. We do want to take part in its development and growth. And with this, we have activities that where we collaborate with companies who are
we hope that you would enjoy it and raise your interest and some of your interaction, of course. So today the panel discussion is about migration. So migration is a global phenomenon. It is a human movement from one place to another place, looking inspiring and aspiring for better life conditions. Migration is not a new trend. In fact, it dates since ages and decades before. However, with the development of the human being, and the phenomenon got more complicated due to the regulation and procedures. It is in this context that Morocco, for long considered as a country of origin or transit, has elaborated a new approach, taking into account the human aspects of this phenomenon, under the leadership of His Majesty the King, allowing the country to become one of the host countries for migrants not only from Africa, but also from Asia and Europe. On the other hand, Finland has recently released the Finnish strategy for Africa, in which the human aspect was very much highlighted. It is for these reasons, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, that Think Africa and the Embassy of Morocco in Finland decided to seize this opportunity and put together Finland, Morocco, and Africa in one panel discussion to give insights and further dialogue toward a tripartite cooperation in the field of migration. To this end, and with great pleasure, I would like to introduce the Ambassador of Morocco to Finland and Estonia, His Excellency Mohamed Ashkalou, to the stage to open the panel. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Selma, and thank you, Mariam, and through your kind words, I would like also to thank the whole team of Think Africa for bringing to its start this gathering that I hope it will be an opportunity for good discussion on the thematic, of the timely thematic actually, of migration. I would also like to thank all the panelists here with us, Mr. Yiro Koskenyemi, sorry for pronunciation. Thank you very much for joining us from the Ministry of Interior, the Department of Migration. I myself am not an expert of migration, so your presence with us here and also the other panelists from Morocco that will be introduced by my colleague Selma will probably give us deeper insight on this issue. Ladies and gentlemen, I was entrusted to give some keynotes, and the focus will be placed on efforts made by Morocco in the management of immigration. And probably the director, Ahmed Skim from Rabat, will put the emphasis on other technical or probably some figures about the deals of Morocco, on the matter. The migration is considered since 1960s as a strategic tool for the national economic development of Morocco. The country has played an especially major role in labor migration to Europe over the past 6 decades. Yet at that time, Morocco has signed agreements, labor agreements with some countries like France, Netherlands, and Germany. When it comes to Finland, I would say that today more than 3,300 Moroccans live here and work mostly in the USIMA districts. They are very well integrated and fulfill their rights and duties in harmony with the Finnish society with no major problems. We have today probably an example from real life stories. Sorry, here with us, Mrs. Naima El-Aisawi, who will tell us her story during this morning. And also we will have another case from another experience from Rabat or from Paris, probably, Mr. Duke Montaga, who is a Senegalese living in Morocco. Moroccan immigration, ladies and gentlemen, to Finland can be divided in 2 phases. The first started in early 80s, and the second, most recently, started with highly skilled citizens and students in the year, or the starting 2000 year, both from Morocco itself and from other European countries due to the economic crisis of 2008, and also some acts or pressures, let me say, on them by racism and hatred acts in some cases, in some parts of Europe and other places of the world. Thanks to its strategic position and its African roots and its proximity to Europe, Morocco has become, as it is said in the theme of this morning meeting, has become an essential player in the management of the migratory flows that our region, North Africa especially, has experienced for several decades. Accordingly, migration occupies a very important place in the overall picture of migration in the world. Therefore, a Morocco-Finland cooperation towards Africa through Morocco, of course, and in cooperation with other countries of the continent, it is possible and highly recommendable for so many reasons, probably to addressing the root causes of irregular migration through, for instance, cooperation to development. Development or underdevelopment is one of the main causes of irregular migration. Also, both countries can cooperate in the field of the protection of migrants and their rights, and also their integration in societies. Both countries also can encourage very much legal migration, and we have good opportunities to go through probably joint initiatives, either bilaterally or multilaterally in Africa or in other fora, either in the United Nations or together with the IBM. Probably I would raise an eventual Finnish contribution to the African Observatory on Migration that was launched last year, last December in Rabat. It could be probably an option in this regard that will be highly appreciated if the Finnish government decided to contribute in the way it seems to them suitable. Ladies and gentlemen, for a long time, Morocco was considered as an immigration and transit country to Europe. Well, in the title, it is EU is not anymore the host country, but my focus will be on Morocco, actually, as the host country for migrants that started yet early 90s. Morocco welcomed from that period immigrants from not only sub-Saharan countries, who are the traditional migrants to our country, but also from the Middle East, Asia, and Europe, following the events in those regions. Morocco, ladies and gentlemen, integrates migration issues into a comprehensive approach, considering the complexities and the specificities of this human phenomenon and the principle of shared responsibility. That's why the migration component has always been in a central place in Morocco's foreign policy under the leadership of His Majesty King Mohammed VI. Morocco has advocated and identified as early as in 2013 a new approach to migration based on the values of solidarity, reception, hospitality, and the respect for human rights. And this policy that was launched in 2013 probably will be more appropriate that Director Ahmed Skim from Rabat will share with us, with the audience, his thoughts or his thoughts about this policy. In terms of migration management and policies, I could state proudly, but also in all humbleness, that Morocco has become a praiseworthy and much appreciated case study in and also an example of good practices. He was actually recognized as such by the United agencies. Also, when it comes to fighting against related phenomena to the migration, like terrorism, like human trafficking and organized crime, Morocco is from far and in the forefront in the region when it comes to fighting against those phenomena. Our exceptional efforts have enabled Morocco to stand out as a leader of the African Union in the person of His Majesty the King for the elaboration of an African agenda for migration that also will be tackled from interventions from Rabat in details. In terms of actually the timely issue of the irregular migration that we see on the media nowadays, I would just give some examples and numbers on the efforts made by Morocco. For example, since 2017, Morocco prevented more than 280,000 irregular migration attempts to Europe. Moroccan authorities also dismantled more than 1,050 cases of trafficking networks. Morocco also rescued more than 80,500 migrants at the sea. You can imagine the effort, the financial effort and human effort that should be put in this management approach. These numbers provide a perfect overview of the heavy burden that Morocco bears in terms of human resources, mobilization, and costs of surveillance of its northern coastlines and also borders in the south and with African countries, neighboring African countries. The amount of budget put in this effort is about 350 to 400 million euros per year. The EU financial support, for example, over the past 20 years has contributed only with 4% to the Moroccan efforts in the era of migration. You can observe through these examples that Morocco has indeed done and given a lot without almost, if you look to numbers, without almost nothing in return from his partners. Unfortunately, some of these partners have always envisioned Morocco as the responsible for the results of probably their own policies. As you have seen, these considerable financial and human efforts should lead, I may say, our partners to some spirit of humility and show the virtue of recognition and respect towards the role and sacrifices made by Morocco on a daily basis, instead of naming and shaming or coming up with condemnatory and unproductive initiatives. At the same time, while thousands of migrants are abandoned and in the sea or in the desert by neighboring countries of Morocco, and when no one claims their rights or condemns such acts, Morocco was there, he rescued them and welcomed them. And there is so many examples of that. not to be long, probably no later than 2017, for instance, Moroccan authorities, going along with high instructions of His Majesty the King, settled the situation of a group of 13 Syrian families who have been stranded for weeks on the Algerian-Moroccan border. And at that time, only no one at least said some kind words about this human initiative that saved the life of so many families from Syria. Ladies and gentlemen, in this context, I have to state that Morocco is keen to human dignity and human rights of migrants and their families enshrined in the international law, more specifically in the International Convention on the Protection of the Rights of all Migrants, workers and members of their families. This is a General Assembly, United Nations General Assembly, a resolution that was adopted probably in December 1990. If we look at this international instrument and looked, for example, to the ratification status of this convention by only 56 countries, all of them African, Latin American, or Asian, there is a question there because the situation talks about itself. Of course, every country has its own internal decisions and its sovereignty on adhering to international law, but this is a situation that probably needs an in-deep discussion. As we are in an atmosphere of a pandemic, I would add that also since the outbreak of the COVID-19, the Kingdom's migration and asylum policy has also shown great solidarity with migrants by helping them to overcome the risks associated with this pandemic and by vaccinating them on the same level as the Moroccan population, even if they are in an irregular situation. Before concluding, ladies and gentlemen, let me draw attention probably to a very serious phenomenon, so-called, that we find in sociology, migration sociology analysis. It's about the brain drain, which is not anymore, unfortunately, considered to be a big issue for those countries who encourage what they call selective migration, focusing on highly skilled and skilled brains immigrants. In my point of view, this is a very ethical and moral issue, and countries who probably don't consider anymore this phenomenon and this issue and the impact it has on the development of African countries especially. I think this situation has to be tackled somehow in other forums, but definitely it is a moral issue. Ladies and gentlemen, I come to the end to my keynotes. I would like to thank once again all those, Salma, Miriam, our chairperson, and through you, all the names, not to make mistakes in pronunciation, all those, your team who put a huge effort to actually to gather the panel and to prepare the consideration of this very important and timely thematic. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you for the enlightenment and for all the information that you have shed light in your keynote speech. It was indeed very interesting. Now I would like to introduce Mrs. Naima El Isawi, a Moroccan-Finnish citizen who was nominated recently as a city councillor of Vanta. She would like to share with us her story today and her journey from Morocco to Finland. Thank you, Mrs. Naima, please.
Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, I am truly honored to be here and thankful. I would like to thank the organizer for this amazing event. Like this kind of events should be more frequent to bring cultures and knowledge and people close to each other. Today I am here to speak about my experiences here in Finland, about integration and how I integrated to Finnish society from Moroccan background. So I tell you some information about myself, how I got here to this point where I am now. So my name is Naima Elisawi, Moroccan citizen and also Finnish citizen. Born in Morocco and moved with my family in 1994 when I was 10 years old. I am married and mother of 3 children. My first feeling with Finland was that our airplane landed to Vantaa, Helsinki airport, so I was like, oh my God. I remember like this time that was so dark, snowing, I was like a little bit confused and scared about new life. But also at that time I was very optimistic that inside about all the opportunities and possibilities that Finland could give me. About my childhood, when I was thinking to come to speak to you, I was like, actually that was very normal with full of challenges, of course. We lived in suburb of Vantaa, in Hakunila. I think that many have heard about it. And the challenges, of course, it was like a new language, new culture, so it wasn't so easy, for example, like Finnish kid. It was really challenging to balance between 2 completely different cultures for both, as for me, or for children, and also to the parents who tried to retain the original Moroccan culture alive and present in our daily life, but at the same time push it as to seek for an education and to move up in the societal ladders. But that time is very difficult example for teenagers who are living between 2 cultures to understand. So I think it was very, very hard time for us because at that moment there is not a lot of Moroccan families here in Finland 25, 27 years ago. But we survived it and growth, and actually it is gave me straight to understand other peoples from other cultures. So studies as my family life, I studied in the regular elementary school with other regular Finnish children and very few immigrants around us. Sometimes being the only immigrant in the class, and that time there were no significant segregation present as nowadays. Maybe not accepted me like because of my background and color, but like I said before, I never gave up and I just went head up. I graduated from high school and same time also from vocational with a double degree, which gave me a high school degree and a business diploma. After my high school graduation, I worked for 2 years in Actually, it was my first ever office job. But after 2 years, I decided that I need to improve my education and work skills, so I decided to go back to school and study more. I enrolled to a University of Applied Science to study international business trade, and this all happened in the same city of Van Damme. And of course, at the same time, I was doing a side job in my local grocery store, first as cashier and also as shift manager. As an immigrant, I think I have done more extra than Finnish people, just to prove that to get trust from employers, from workmates. For me, it was easy, but I think it's easy with me with a good language, Finnish language skills. It doesn't matter so much, but I think for people who move adult to Finland, it's more difficult. Nowadays, I work as a financial expert and also as team leader in the Helsinki City Rescue Department. Actually, I am the first immigrant in the administrative level of rescue department, and at the first time when I went there, it was a surprise for everyone in the department, and I got many questions about my background, where I am from. I am half Finnish, or I am from other country, and about my religion. I was like, oh my God, why they are asking about me? But I understand, because that was the first one with other, and like rescue department, there's a lot of, they are not having contact with other immigrants. But this happened in 2012, so 10 years ago. Many things changed in the period, including people's attitude and how they relate. And of course, Finnish people get used with immigrants more and more. But I see that in work labor, we have a lot to do with this, like people should get job easier than no, and background or special name should not affect. About my influences and politics, influencing others has been always an important part of me since the early childhood. I could never turn a blind eye to any injustice I could witness around me. And I always felt a very strong need to define those who could not define or take care of themselves. Therefore, it was very natural for me to join those associations and provide them my help in form of sharing my experience and knowledge how to act and successfully integrate into a Finnish society. In those organizations, my focus was mainly immigrant women, young people, and their families, because they are in the weak position in society. And after a long period, I started to realize that I could impact the society and show up the real issues immigrants face on their daily basis, and therefore bring the change that was needed in the municipal level. So that's why I decided to join political party, call it SDP. I belong to Democratic Party since 2016. SDP reflects the values that are important to me, such as equality, parity, and solidarity. So I was elected to this Vantaa City Council in the municipal election in summer, and now I am working for a better place for us. And as a mother, of 3 kids, so I try to raise my kids as Finnish, but at the same time I take care about Moroccan roots, and I teach them Moroccan culture, and of course native language is very important. And same time I avoid to be too tight for them and give them maybe more freedom that I got at that time. So if I can conclude this is my story, I think I see that successful integration, in my opinion, consists of trusting your own background and your own self in the process, and avoid not to forget your original roots. But at the same time, I have to be open for new home country and be receptive for its positive influences. And the main key element for the integration is the sufficient language skills that help you along the way and open the doors that are needed. And I see that Finnish people also help when they see that you are really trying to do your best, and they helps you to integrate to the society. That was my story. I hope that was interesting and inspiration for other immigrants and new people here in Finland. So thank you. And if you have any question, I am here to answer.
Thank you, Mrs. Naima, for the valuable experience that you have shared with us and the great work you are doing and you still have to do for your kids also. We will listen to another testimonial and then we will see if you have any questions, and then we move on with the panel discussion. Yeah, sure. Sorry? Okay, yeah. Yes, you can have.
I have 2 questions. First of all, I want to say thank you for sharing your beautiful experience. We need women like you to come out to speak. My name is Fatima Usman. I'm the spokesperson of African South African European Association. And what was your biggest challenge as a woman, as a Moroccan woman in this society? And then the second question is, what do you think that your political career can influence in this society?
Thank you for your question. The first challenge is, as a woman, I think that people doesn't believe in what I am doing. And actually, the challenge is much challenge is what I. It's maybe. So the challenges that I got as a woman, as I said before. And in political area, that I think that should be more immigrants to show that also that when I think like mass media, when it's talking about immigrants, it talks about group, but we are different. Everyone is different, and maybe we have to talk more and more about the success, about the good experience, and if I have not born in Finland, but for example, Finland is home country for my kids, so they can't feel always that they are from somewhere, but they belong here. Yeah. But at that time, it was very difficult, I think. It was like you are from somewhere. It's always, it's nowadays that when I go, maybe Finland has changed it a little bit, and it's changing all the time, but it's still, maybe 20 years, after 20 years, or 30 years, it's that it doesn't matter what's color or what's your name. That's.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, and thank you, Naima, for the answers. Now we will move on to our next testimonial. I will give the floor to Mr. Diop. Is he with us? Yeah? Well, I will give a small introduction about Mr. Diop. Mr. Diop has a long experience in terms of promotion and protection of migrant rights in Morocco and abroad. Advocate and specialist in children's law, he returned to Morocco after his studies and established with his friends the intercultural association named Kirikou. I would like to give him he will be joining online, and I would like to give him the floor so that he can share more about his experience and his association. Yeah? No? Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Allô?
Oui.
Allô? Allô?
We can hear. Can you hear us?
Allô?
Yes.
Allô? Ah, thank you.
I was about to say the same.
It was very difficult. Thank you.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, because I was to see the in YouTube video. Till she is talking, until my presentation didn't come. So why I stay there?
Okay.
But
I see that they are running a little bit late.
Okay.
Hi, Diop. I hope you are hearing.
So, what time I will beginning? You see?
Right now. Can you hear me? No. Unmute the.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me? No. Hey, hello? Can you hear me? No? Can you hear us?
Yeah, now it's good.
Yeah? All right. Now you can take the floor, Mr. Diop. No. Hello?
Hello. Okay.
Yeah, do you hear me? No.
We can hear you, yes. Are we starting, or what is the program? Because I think we're...
I'm waiting, you will tell me.
Yes. Can you hear me, Mr. Diop?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. We're glad to have you here with us. Can you hear me, Mr. Diop?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, can you take the floor and talk more about your experience, please?
I can speak?
Yes, sure.
Okay, because I don't see anything. I don't see anyone in the video. So why? Okay.
No,
so me, I am Job Muntaga, and my origin is from Senegal. Now I live in Paris. How you can see in my biography, and I work in the Ministry of Justice, in the protection judiciaire and jeunesse. We work with minors which have problems with conflict with the law, and we have to help them in the processes of judge, their protection and their life in France. This is my professional work, but I am very happy to participate to this colloque because it's the occasion for me to speak about the best experience in my life. I think it's with the country, great country is Morocco, and so I can say all my beginning, because when I know the Morocco, first I go for travel, for try to study, try to work. And when I arrived to Morocco, in the beginning it's difficult, but after I stay and I have some opportunity in Morocco, some things I didn't have in my country, in Senegal, I have it in Morocco, which to have opportunity to have a scholarship in order to beginning my studies again, because I stopped early my studies, and I have this opportunity from Morocco to move from Morocco to go to France, to Paris, to beginning my study at the University Paris 8. It's 2012. When I finished 2 years after my degree in law international humanitarian, I have to write my memory for the migrants, the law of migrants in the Maghreb, and I choose these countries, and I come back to Morocco. It is a big decision. So it was very difficult for me because in France, when I finish, I have opportunity to job, I have opportunity to be installed, but I decided to go in Morocco. Even my little family was in Europe. Even it's not France, but it was in Europe. It was across for me, but I didn't decided to go in Morocco because some things is happening when I moved there. Is this migration policy for the government, and I see to build something with the government, with the society, civil society, and it isn't good for me to let down back me for this program. When I come back to Morocco, I do my internship with the organization of human rights. I funded my organization with friends, Kirikou. We try to work for this association. It's created by our Moroccan youth, human rights activists and migrants. And we work for protection in development of minors, that they benefit from their rights, health, education, family, and healthy living environment. It also we work with mothers to promote and enhance their professional and social skills in order to promote their integration into Moroccan society. It's the first association in the Morocco with an intercultural Kirikou nursery label, which welcome free migrants and Moroccan children in the magnificent context of living together. And in 2018, Kirikou Associated also created one branch in Senegal, and we set our projects for young people in partnership with local elected officials to fight illegal immigration. It's also, we propose a nursery program in rural and urban areas for rural women and their children. And in 2020, another Kirikou branch born is Paris, France, where the association is launching a program for unaccompanied African minors in France with integration. and the monitoring component for the voluntary return with restoration of family links. Now the Kirikou Association in Morocco has one nursery garden in Rabat for children in Moroccan, and 4 in Senegal. And our objective is in 2020, in 2 years, after 2 years, I'm sorry for my English, we will have 3 nursery planned in Morocco, one for Oujda, Nador, and Marrakesh. So it's, I think it's very important to, my experience, this Kirikou we created in Morocco have successfully, because I think the most of our success is for policy government. But men and women of my generation are strong believed that the immigration and the integration, African immigration, has to be developed by all the states of African Union. In the African Union, you have 54 states. 54 states in the African Union, and you have some small countries who try to do a program of integration for migration. Only Morocco created by the leaders in the King His Majesty Mehmed VI in the 2014. I have our colleagues here, the director, or I want to say all my recognition, all my solidarity with Ahmed Skim, because he is one of the men who work for this policy migration in Morocco to help social civility association to try to do their plan, their program for the children or the migrants coming in Morocco. It will be very nice for me today to speak in French in order to talk about for this policy of migration. But I think after I can send my presentation to share with the public. And what I want to say is my experience in Morocco is the best one of my life, because I was the first Senegalese, I think, to work in the Red Crescent Morocco. It's a Société Nationale led by Princess Lala Malika, peace or his soul. She just leave us, and I see it is a big message in the world, because I didn't have nationality Moroccan, but I have this opportunity to have a big responsibility for this Société Nationale Red Crescent Morocco. And I think the Morocco is show that some people arriving, you can have a dream in Morocco. I am really sure that you have a dream. The dream of Morocco is happening for me, because you can do all you want to your project. You can study, you can stay. I never have the problem for of stigmatization of my origin. It's true, because perhaps if you come from Senegal, it's normally because all the Moroccan have is in his heart Senegal. All the Senegalese have in their heart the Morocco. It's classic, it's secular. But it's something happening in Africa, I think, for the 54 states in the Union African. If all the countries do the same program policy as Church Morocco, I think we can have some many things of positive integration in the regulation migration in the Africa. I am very proud of my experience. I think today, if I come to France, come back to France and have opportunity to integrate the Ministry of Justice, I think it is the experience that I have in Morocco. I am sure for this. So I think it's very important for me to share with you my experience in Morocco. And I tell also the countries in the West Africa have to join their strength and to do same Morocco for this policy migration in order to have the political African migration come in. I'm very sorry. I have to. I'm not good in English, but I respect the organization, so I try to expose my my presentation. And if you have some question, perhaps it will be for the public. It's more important to know what is in experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diop. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Do we have any question for Mr. Diop? Or maybe at the end of the panel, maybe. Right, okay. Okay, so now we will move to the opening of the panel discussion. And for this, I would like to invite Mrs. Crystal Ospel to the floor. Mrs. Crystal, who is going to be our moderator today for the panel discussion on migration, has a long career and growing expertise in African migration, and an advocate for immigrants' well-being. She will be our moderator, as I said, and she will open the panel discussion. Thank you, Crystal. Please take the floor from here.
I don't hear clearly.
Thank you very much, Salma. Good morning, His Excellency, Ambassador of Morocco, ladies and gentlemen, those here and those watching us online. Once again, let me welcome you to this panel discussion on connecting and reconnecting integration policies to immigrant experiences. This topic is very important and timely, both from a global perspective and also from Finland's perspective.
I cannot hear. Sorry. Can you speak more clearly on the mic, because we cannot hear what you are saying.
Can you hear me? Let me know when to continue.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me? I can come there, Soka. Can I come there? Try this one. Maybe I should go there. No. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Is this better? No, I can't hear. Might try from this place. Sorry. Hello, can you hear me?
There is a lot of background noise when you are talking, so we don't get clear what you are saying. Now it's much better, yes.
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Hello? No, nobody can hear me. Hello? Should I move closer? Let me see. Hello, can you hear me? No.
Hello, Tatiana? Can you hear us? Yes, I can hear you now very well, but there is another voice which is very much in the background. I think you have to bring your laptop, if you have a laptop, closer to your mouth or closer to you, so we can hear clearly what the instructions are.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Hello?
it's clear now. Yes.
Anna, can you hear me? Anna is Jane. Anna, can you hear me? Tatiana, can you hear
Anna,
me?
I can hear you. Yes, Anna, your microphone is muted.
Anna, I can hear you, so okay. Anna, can you hear me? Anna, can you hear me? No. Mr. Skim, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so Anna. Anna, can you hear me? Anna, can you hear me?
You need to, can you unmute her mic? Because if you are in control of the session, you can unmute her mic yourself.
I can hear through the...
Okay, I think she's frozen, but she could probably hear us. Anna, can you probably change connection? I don't know, your connection seems to be weak.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I think we can continue. Okay, before I present the panelists, I just give a little background to this panel. Like I was saying, the topic is very important and timely, both from a global perspective. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Anna, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. So a little background to the, and sorry for all of this. I think it's part of our life now with the restrictions on COVID.
Yes.
We are getting used to hybrid programs that are more online than in person. So I just continue. A little background to this panel discussion. Like I was saying, from a global perspective, this panel is quite important. Because it is quite common when you talk about immigration and integration issues to sideline African experiences on immigration, totally ignoring the fact that international immigration within Africa is actually greater than international immigration from Africa. But also the topic is also very important from Finland's perspective, especially in the context of the recent happenings in Finland. For example, earlier in the year, we had the situation of a report by EVA, one of the established think tanks in Africa, that highlighted the unemployment of immigrant women, but generally placed the reason for that unemployment on the immigrant women. That raised quite an uproar in Finland. Not so recently, we also had the Reform Migri movement that also called attention to experiences of immigrants in Finland as they queue or wait to get their residential permits or visa. And most recently, a couple of weeks ago, we had a situation where a senior professor on the national television mentioned that, argued actually that it is right to use the N-word and that does not constitute racism. Again, creating a huge uproar in the immigrant community. But this is not all, because even within Finland, we also have witnessed political will to correct the situation. We had recently the African Finland strategy, and we also have the national project that actively seeks to welcome professional immigrants to do their businesses, to get professional jobs and live their life in Finland as a safe and secure country. Now, what all of this situation have showed us, it has actually called attention to integration policies, but also on immigration, raising a lot of questions about the connection of integration to immigration, but also the relevance of immigrant lives within their host country. In the light of this, we've put this panel together, bringing experts from Finland, but also highlighting an example, a case study of an African country that has been doing interesting reforms on integrating immigrants into their country. And we also have a panelist that will bring in regional perspective that we highlight. We expect that the benefits of cooperation in integrating immigrants into the host country. And with this, objectives of the panel definitely then is to highlight the impact of integration on immigrants' experiences, but also we want to share best practices between Morocco, Finland, and East Africa, or from a regional perspective. And after saying all of this, I think it's time to call on my panelists. They say charity begins from home, so I will introduce first Anna Brun. Anna Brun is from Finland. She's joining us online. And she is a ministerial advisor at the Labor, Migration and Integration Unit, at the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Employment. She works with policy and legislation in connection with labor migration and integration. She also coordinates the Working Life Diversity Program based on Prime Minister Marin's government program. Anna, you're welcome.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me now, and I'm sorry for the technical problems previously.
And with Anna from Finland is Mr. Eero Koskeniemi. Eero is our only live panelist and with us here. He is a senior advisor from the Ministry of the Interior. And to join Eero here, to keep Eero company, we have may I still call the ambassador? The ambassador of Morocco. Thank you very much. And then from East Africa, bringing us a regional perspective, is Mrs. Tatiana Aji Emmanuel. Pardon my pronunciation. She is a senior regional specialist for labor mobility and human development. Her area of expertise range from migration governance and policy, migration management and irregular migration, labor migration, and a host of others. In East and Horn of Africa, she's working closely with government and non-government stakeholders on migration governance, policy, programming, as well as the Nairobi process, a regional initiative on harmonization of labor, migration policies, and migrant workers' rights. You're welcome, Tatiana.
Thank you.
And last but not the least is Mr. Hamed Skem. He is from Morocco. He's presenting to us the case study of Morocco's experiences in integrating immigrants to the host society. Mr. Hamed Skem holds first degree in engineering and an MBA from France. He is presently the Director of Migration Affairs at the Ministry Delegate to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, African Cooperation, and Moroccan Expatriates. Prior to that, he was in charge of mission to the head of governance at the ministry in charge of Moroccan expatriates and migration affairs. Welcome, Mr. Ahmed.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll just go straight to talk about how we run this panel. I prepared some questions, quite a few of them just to get the discussion flowing. But I will ask more questions from the points raised during the discussion. Now, the discussion will last for 50 minutes in total. After that, we take questions for the next 15 minutes. Those online can type in their question. Someone will read out the question to us during the question and answer session. And while those present with us here, you could raise up your hands and I could call you to ask your question during the Q&A session. They always say, if you want to read an interesting book, you can either start from the beginning. Some people would prefer to start from the end, and others will just dive in from the middle. I always enjoy starting from the middle, because then you decide where you want to go. So I think we could just dive right into it. And I ask the first question. For every integration policy or immigration policy, there is normally a philosophy that guides it at the national level. So I think this question will set the tone for the discussion that will follow. And will you say migration is a threat to the host country? And I would like to start with Finland. Charity begins at home. So, Anna, you want to start with us? Will you say immigration is a threat to the host country from the perspective of your office or from your own perspective or experiences?
Thank you. Did I hear you correctly that you gave the word to me?
Is immigration a threat to the host country?
Yes. Okay, thank you for the question. So I would say that immigration is absolutely not a threat to Finland. In Finland, as you well know, the working age population is aging. And we do not have enough skilled workers from the domestic labor market at the moment. So we do have a talent shortage in Finland, and it's actually going to become an obstacle for growth in Finland unless we do something about it. And therefore, the government has a very active labor migration policy and also a very active integration policy, which we are developing all the time. So I would say that migration is a possibility, a big possibility for Finland and also a necessity. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Eero, you are the immigration expert. Will you consider immigration a threat to the host country from any perspective?
Okay, thank you. First of all, thanks for the Embassy of Morocco and IOM for having this seminar and panel. I think this is kind of discussions that are needed in Finland more than before. Your question, is migration a threat? I'm sorry I can't...
In any way, yes. Can migration be considered a threat to the host country?
Sorry but I can't give you a direct answer. I give you a broader answer. Okay. Migration, how do you describe migration? Migration is something that has always occurred and will occur. So that is something that is normal to us. For example, UNHCR's data, there are about 80 million forcibly migrated persons at the moment, and a quarter of them are considered as refugees. So there are different kinds of migration. From the state perspective, we'll look at perhaps differently than from the individual perspective. We'll look at the legal migration, we have the illegal movement, and in even some cases there is sort of acceptance of illegal movement within a country. Like there's a term called duldung, that is in certain European countries where illegal migration is accepted. There is no direct actions towards migration. From the individual perspective, there is the voluntary movement, and there's the forced movement. So there you have a different view on migration. When it comes to migration as a phenomena, we also talk about smuggling, trafficking. These are the phenomena that we are all aware of. And globally, or perhaps not even globally, from the Finnish perspective, we have always migrated to nearby countries like Sweden, a bit further, Germany, Canada, USA, Australia. That has been the sort of the common phenomena when you talk about migration. Globally, migration. I mentioned Finland. I can name different kinds of migration examples. Just to name.
Mr. Ero, sorry.
Yes.
Is any of these different types of migration you've mentioned, can we consider all of them or few of them as threats to the country?
I will give you some examples why I take up this view. We have the migration in Turkey. We have in Iran, in Kenya, Libya, United States, Canada, Australia, Hungary. The view on migration in all of these countries is different. So to give an answer, whether it's a threat depends on where you look at it. What is the migration? Is it the country of origin, transit, destination?
Well, if we say in Finland, if we say, is it a threat to Finland specifically, would you consider immigration a threat?
I would say that I would look at, again, a bit more broader perspective. Sorry to give you this answer. Migration is a complicated. It's a multifaceted phenomenon. So there is no direct answer whether it's a threat. So it depends on who you ask it from. You can take. Perhaps sorry to continue this.
But I'm asking it from you, Mr. Ero. I mean, apart from your perspective, but also in your office. But from what you're saying, I could take it like migration is, from your perspective and the perspective of your office, it's a complicated threat to the host country. But we'll come back to that.
It's a complicated phenomenon.
Phenomenon, not threat. Okay, so you still, okay, we'll come back to that. Mr. Skim, in Morocco, the immigration and integration policies has been dubbed a royal strategy with a human face. Within Africa and even globally, that is what is known, the new changes that is made, the reforms that are going on in Morocco. So from the perspective of those reforms, and also with the knowledge that Morocco is both a host country and a transit country, mostly now a host country, would you say that immigration is a threat to Morocco as a country? Mr. Skim, can you hear me? Let me take that again.
Yes.
Should I take it again?
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for the invitation. I couldn't participate face-to-face as planned due to new travel restrictions from Morocco and all the world, but I'm happy to join remotely. To answer your question, first I would talk about Moroccan national immigration and asylum policy. The national immigration and asylum policy is in line with the structural measures initiated by Morocco since 2013. Actually, in recent years, in the last 2 decades, the Kingdom of Morocco has moved from a country of departure and transit to Europe into a country of destination. And last 2013, following the National Human Rights Council recommendations of its thematic report on the situation of migrants and refugees in Morocco. His Majesty the King Mohammed VI gave his high orientations to the government to develop a new global policy on migration and asylum issues consistent with international commitments and respectful of immigrants' human rights. And the Moroccan Government Council adopted the National Immigration and Asylum Strategy on December 18, 2014. The vision of this strategy is ensuring a better integration of immigrants and a better management of migration flows within the framework of a coherent, global, humanistic, and responsible policy. This vision is declined in 4 strategic objectives. The first one is facilitating the integration of regular immigrants. Second, updating the regulatory framework. Third, implementing an adapted institutional framework to implement this strategy. And last, managing migration flows while respecting human rights. There are 6 guiding lines or principles for this strategy: human approach, global approach, aspect of human rights, compliance with the international law, renewed multilateral cooperation, and shared responsibility. For this vision, there are 11 sectoral and transversal action programs, sectoral programs like education and culture, youth and leisure, health, housing, social and humanitarian assistance, vocational training, employment, and some across programs like managing migration flows and combating human trafficking, international cooperation, regulatory and conventional framework, and the governance and the communication.
Mr. Skim. Hello, Mr. Skim. In the context of this this policy and strategy of Morocco, these reforms that you've been mentioning, how does the notion that immigration could be a threat to the host country, how does it apply? How do you understand this particular arguments that is quite common? Will you consider from the perspective of these reforms that immigration is a threat to the host country? Or
sorry?
Will you consider that immigration
is a threat? Very well.
Hello? Can you hear me? This is Skim?
Yes, yes.
You can hear me? Okay. I said, I mean, you've been talking about the reforms going on in Morocco and the changes that are being done and how it's being implemented. I'm just asking, the philosophy behind those changes. Could we argue, could we say from the Moroccan perspective that immigration is a threat to the host country, to Morocco?
No.
Can you straightforward respond to the question, is immigration a threat to Morocco?
No, absolutely, it's not a threat. Immigration is neither a burden nor a boon. While it poses challenges, an active migration management offers real opportunities for countries of origin, transit, and destination, as it contributes to the economic development of these countries, to their cultural enrichment, and to the consolidation of tolerance, dialogue, and mutual understanding among people. Actually, better governance of migration can reinforce the sovereignty of states and establish a virtuous circle that makes migration a lever of development that benefits both migrants and countries of origin, destination, and transit. And I remember that Ambassador William Lacey Swing, former Director General of IOM, used to say that migration is no longer a problem to be solved, but a situation to be well managed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Skim. You've effectively directed our focus or the discussion from migration as movements of people or different types of migration to the management of immigration or management of migration. And so once again, you've brought us back to probably integration policies, because then if we don't consider migration as a threat, and rather we are focusing on the management on migration as what determines the outcome of what migration is to the host country, then we can move on to talk about integration policy. Anna, I know your office, from your office you work on integration policies. And from the responses to the question if immigration is a threat to the host country, you could see that it could be mixed. From the perspective of integration, perspective of your office and in Finland, how would you respond in terms of integration to this notion, first of all, that immigration could be a threat? It's a complicated issue, but then that means it could be a threat to the host country. Or to the other perspective that immigration is not a threat to the country, but it is the management style of immigration that could actually determine the outcome of immigration. How will you respond to that from the perspective of integration policies?
Okay, so if I heard you correctly, you asked how the integration policies are connected to this immigration and whether it should be and the management of migration.
Yes,
so in Finland, we do have policies for both migration, immigration, as well as integration, and I would say that both of them are very closely interlinked, especially if we, for example, at our ministry manage both labor migration as well as integration policies. We do see these both policies on a very daily basis, closely interlinked. And I would say that integration policies, of course, are an important aspect of a well-functioning migration system. But of course, also they do have a sort of, they are important as they are, because when you talk about well-functioning integration policy, you talk both about the individual coming to the country, you talk about, I think, the sort of the societies, the groups of people coming here, but you also talk about the receiving society and how it changes through migration and how integration can support that. So I would say that the two policies are very closely interlinked.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tatiana, now if we look at the management of immigration from the regional perspective, especially as it relates to different governments working together. How can that either increase or reduces the notion or the perception of immigration as a threat to a country? Or how could that also improve or challenge the management of immigration? I will take the question again. Now, from a regional perspective, and that is focusing on different governments working together, how does that either improve or create more problem to the notion of immigration as a threat to a country, or to the notion of management of immigration being the key to the outcome of immigration? I think you're muted.
Okay, if you can repeat the question, because closer to the microphone, because it was coming with a vacuum, will be great. I didn't hear. Yes.
I'm trying to find the perspective from the regional perspective that is mostly focused on cooperation between different governments. How does cooperation either improves the notion of immigration as a threat to a country, or how does it improve or challenges the notion of management and national management being the key determinant of the outcome of immigration?
Yes, thank you so much. Well, the experience from the cooperation with governments in Eastern Horn of Africa and with between governments from Eastern Horn of Africa and receiving countries, also countries of destination, shows that well-managed, safe, orderly, and humane migration policies are needed as a basis in order to negotiate any kind of exchange of people that are moving from countries of origin to countries of destination. If I can share a little bit the experience from Africa, I mean, Anna mentioned about the needs in Finland as a country of destination, let's say, where you know, the population is aging and also there are not enough skilled workers and lack of talent, and they try also to attract people from all over the world. Not Africa, of course, is very, you know, close to Europe. This is one element. The other element, as you also mentioned in the beginning, it's the majority of the population in Africa is moving within Africa. So a lot of countries in Africa become countries of origin and countries of destination as well, of African workers moving around. Now, another element that comes into play that adds into this complexity of the policies is the fact that Africa has a very young population. Which it's a supply actually both for the African countries but also for other continents like Europe that is aging. So someone has to form orderly, let's say, management procedures in order to be able to identify the skilled, semi-skilled or low-skilled workers that are needed in countries of destination, and identify also the channels and form the channels, the regular channels for people to move safely. Someone has mentioned about trafficking and smuggling, which becomes a huge problem. It's not something that we see fading away, and this part also of the management, the migration governance management that IOM also is doing, is identifying the secure channels in order for people not to get abused and exploited when they are moving. So all these elements, and I think Anna also mentioned about their approach in combining policies on migration, immigration, and integration. And this is very important. One has to understand that when a country forms an integration policy, it has to take inside all other policies that are in place, from development policies to economic policies to immigration policies, migration policies, trade policies as well. It's not something that stands alone as one element. And just to mention that cooperation of the governments is very important. I mean, IOM is working on a whole of government, whole of society approach involving government and non-government stakeholders in this notion of migration management and, of course, at the end, integration. The role of the civil society, for example, in diasporas in host countries is very significant for proper integration of the new groups of migrants that are coming, and also creating the basis for the society to accept the newcomers, because the diasporas in particular hold, let's say, a lot of power because their existence is long-term. So for a newcomer is a point of reference. Like a good point of reference are also the consular services and the representations that the countries of origin are having in countries of destination. So all these elements, and many others, of course, are forming the migration governance framework that countries, receiving countries, and countries of origin are engaging. At the end of the day, one has to recognize that migration is increasingly a significant factor for the achievement of sustainable development. I mean, societies are thriving because they become very enriched by different cultural aspects and also different skills that people are bringing and different cultural backgrounds. And this is what makes our world a little bit more global. In particular, for the Finnish government, I would like also to praise the Finnish government, because in Eastern Horn of Africa in particular, we have large diaspora programs that are enriching both let's say, the country of destination, which is Finland, but also the countries of origin, and I will explain how. I mean, we have this return of qualified nationals that the Finnish government is financing in Eastern Horn of Africa, and what that means? It means that people that have migrated in Finland long time ago, and they're they have been integrated in the Finnish structures, and they are Finnish citizens now, and they are coming from different countries in Africa. They become beamers of knowledge and sharing of experience in different sectors. In Finland, we have programs that, for example, Somali doctors, Finnish Somali doctors, or Finnish Somali educators are coming to Somalia to work with the Somali government in hospitals and schools in order to increase the capacities of the national people, but also give them another aspect in looking into their capacity development and the development of the country. This by the integration of these people years back, because now we are talking for a program that functions almost 20 years, it's amazing because those people are taken out of the structures of the Finnish society, being migrants themselves many years ago, integrated into the Finnish system, that are traveling to their country of origin to offer something.
Thank you very much.
At the same time,
yeah, okay.
Sorry?
Yeah, you can finish that.
Yeah. So this is part, yes, I would like to close here that this is an example of how, you know, integration of earlier generations into a host country is working to the benefit of the countries of origin through well-structured programs and through well-structured policies that are negotiated or discussed between the two countries. So over from my side, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I want to come back to Eero. I want to ask, from the immigration perspective now, how do you actually connect your work or your concerns about immigration, which has to do with movement of people into and outside Finland, right? How do you connect this to the integration policies, the integration of the immigrants, which look at their lifestyle and their access to opportunities for their well-being? How do you connect this in Finland, within Finland's Finnish system?
Thank you for the question. I think Anna Brun is better to answer how do we connect this to the ones in Finland. But maybe I can relate to the question also what Ajoim just said about the cooperation that we have with diaspora. She mentioned our work in the Horn of Africa, especially in Somalia. We are outreaching through our Somali diaspora to those areas in order to assist their health sector and to help them develop their capacity building. Sorry, is there a... Can you hear us?
Yeah. No, sorry, it's like they could not hear the question. Can you hear us?
The sound is very poor right now. I cannot hear the question that was transferred to me.
Yeah, we cannot hear. I mean, I didn't make sense anything about what the gentleman was talking. Can you please come closer to the microphone on the tablet or the laptop?
Eero is speaking. Yeah, I said it's nothing. They can't hear him speaking. Oh, okay. Okay, so I will rephrase the point you're making, so okay. Mr. Aero is speaking. The question I asked Mr. Aero, sorry, I take the question I asked him is to relate from his perspective as an immigration expert, the connection, the relationship between immigration and integration from his perspective, and he's giving us his response. Yeah, you can continue.
Okay, thank you for the question. I think the best person to answer this would be Anna Brun, but perhaps I can look at it from the migration perspective. She could perhaps answer from the integration perspective. From the migration perspective, how we see the migration movement as such, how do we relate to it, for example, in areas like Horn of Africa, to migrants coming from Horn of Africa to Finland. From the migration authorities, we try to outreach towards diasporas, for example, Somali diaspora, like the example that was given by IOM colleague, and to with their help to support the governments, to support the governments in those fields. For example, health security. We are trying to have the sort of the win-win situation where we can assist those persons who are in need of help in Somalia in person, or governments in supporting the health sector. Also, by the help of Somali diaspora in Finland, to assist and to have make use of their migrant knowledge in the phenomena of migration as a whole. Those persons who are in Finland, for example, Somali migrants, have had their integration experience in Finland, and perhaps use their knowledge and expertise, transferring that to areas in Horn of Africa, and make best use and spread that knowledge towards persons and governments in Horn of Africa.
Thank you, Mr. Ayero. Like when I think of immigration and how we should connect, I think what comes to my mind really is the focus on the maybe programs to invite more immigrants to Finland. The process is to say that immigrants that are in Finland, they are able to process their visa or residence permit on time and with maybe minimal difficulties. And I think one thing I find really interesting in Finland's system is the separation between integration and immigration, but I will come back to it. When Tatiana was talking, when she was giving a point, she called out my attention to the role of stakeholders in this process of migration management. And normally when we talk about the stakeholders, we look at diaspora association or NGOs. But we don't often think about the embassies or consular as playing a part in this process of immigration management. So I want to ask, sir, what role, how does your embassy, the Moroccan embassy, how does it contribute to the process of the integration of Moroccan citizens, but also generally African immigrants in Finland?
Yes, thank you for... I think, yeah. Thank you for the question. Actually, part of it, you're right. Because legally, in terms of integration or legal process before starting the integration, embassies have this is a national and internal issue. So it is dealt with all the process of documents and the process of getting into the country and before starting the integration. This is an internal issue, legally speaking. But according to Vienna of 1963, Vienna Conventions on consular affairs, of course, we have much to do. First of all, assistance to our citizens who are living here. And this is, of course, it goes without saying that there is an international framework for the assistance, and it is referenced to in various conventions. The other issue, then it comes to parallel activities that we do, cultural activities like the meeting that we have today, for example, connection with the civil society. And Morocco, in all, I myself used to be a consul general in Germany in charge of something like 85,000 Moroccans living there in the south of Germany. And civil society has all the time played a very important, sometimes even a decisive role in solving or assisting the local authorities, German authorities, or here Finnish authorities to help people for their integration. So this is yes, we have a role, but part of it is legally the role of the local and national authorities of the host country, of course. Of course, thank you for the question.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is quite a unique event, especially the role that Moroccan Embassy is playing in the organizing of this this panel. But prior to this panel, is the Moroccan Embassy been involved in any other cultural events or program to bring Africans together, or even Moroccans living here with other African nationals? Have there been other programs organized previously?
Yes, thank you. Well, of course, the embassy is involved whenever there is a necessity for some activities with cooperation, of course, with the Finnish authorities, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other departments. We organize, and we have a program a yearly program that couldn't be applied during the last 2 years, or a year and a half, because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But definitely, yes, there is. There is activities, cultural, so all the possibilities that are given to us in the framework of our daily work, diplomatic work. We organize cultural events, economic events, and we also assist NGOs, associations actually to organize them. We provide, of course, guidance and advice to, first of all, to our nationals, and also to all those who come to us for such requests. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
If you allow me, I have just one thing, because I will go back to the first question, the issue of the threats itself.
Okay.
That was a good direct question, but it holds only half the answer. Yes, I can assume that migration, whatever the kind of migration is, could be a threat, not only for the hosting country, but also for the transiting country, but in only one case, when it is related to phenomena like trafficking in persons, like organized crime, like terrorism. Yes, in this case, it's a very big risk, and it's a threat for everybody who is involved, including the migrants themselves, who are victims in this case. So just to clarify this from a global perspective, I'm not answering but this is the situation actually.
Yeah, that's definitely, from that perspective, we could see maybe not just immigration, because we've also had terrorist attacks coming from citizens of countries, but of course, definitely terrorism or insecurity is a threat to any country. But one will not want to say it only comes from immigration, because it's also, citizens are also involved in a lot of extremism as it relates to security and terrorism. Thank you very much for the cultural events. I didn't know about so many going on. But I'll bring us back to the question on integration. I hope you can hear me online. Tatiana, Mr. Skim, Anna, can you hear me? Everybody can hear me? Can you hear me online?
Now it's much better, yes, but I couldn't hear a lot of the things that the gentleman said. Yeah, but I hear you now.
Okay. So I'm bringing us back to the question on integration and immigration. And Anna, I want to ask, because Aero kind of redirected me back to you, and the connection between integration policies, or actually the processes and institutions responsible for integration policies in Finland to immigration regulations and rules. Is there a connection? I mean, if we look at integration being focusing on the life, if we look at integration being concerned with the well-being or the lifestyle of people, of immigrants within the country, and we understand immigration as people coming in, how really do these connect in terms of policies from the Finnish perspective? And I'm asking this, the question is important because, like you know, recently in Finland, we've had a situation where there is the national project that actively seeks immigrants to come, professional immigrants to come to Finland, while there is also this big discussion about the access to opportunities, for example, and other well-being issues of immigrants that live in Finland. So is there a disconnect, or is this connected somehow, or it should be connected? Am I speaking to myself? Can you, okay, I really need to go. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can answer you in the perspective of Morocco, if you.
Okay, Mr. Skim, you hear me, so you can let me know what's the connection.
Yes, yes, the connection, integration, and the immigration. For the national policy in Morocco, we have a governance mechanism that includes all the bodies. It's the governance mechanism of the national immigration asylum strategy that comprises 3 bodies with additional prerogatives. There is an interministerial committee on Moroccan expatriates and migration affairs headed by the chief of the government. We have also a steering committee, and we have 4 program committees that dealing with the 11 programs in the strategy. And if you want, I will give you some key achievements in last year's dealing with this strategy. For example, in the field of education, integration in education, we took operational measures to facilitate the educational integration of migrant children, regardless their administrative situation, if they are irregular or illegal. We have also integration of migrant students in school social support programs and non-formal education system as Moroccans. In the field of culture and youth and leisure, we are supporting associations to teach Moroccan languages and culture to migrants and refugees. For the health sector, for example, integration of migrants in national public health programs. Also, we implement a national strategic plan called Health and Immigration. For the housing sector, for example, granting access to social housing programs for migrants in the field of social and humanitarian assistance. We open the national social assistance programs and national mutual aid centers to migrants, asylum seekers, and refugees. For vocational training, we granting access for migrants and refugees to vocational training in the establishments dealing with vocational training in Morocco. For employment, there are access for regularized documented migrants to the National Agency for Promotion of Employment and Skills. We open also access for migrants and refugees to certain regulated professions as nurses, midwives, and recently doctors. The immigration is a whole. For example, for managing migration flows, we proceed to two exceptional regularization and integration operations for people in an irregular situation in Morocco in 2014, 2016, and 2017. We facilitated voluntary returns in partnerships with IOM, and also we are acting on the regulatory framework. We adopt a new anti-human trafficking law in 2016, and we adopt many of ILO conventions. So the success of this new policy and implementation of this model is determined by a shared responsibility. All concerned parties, namely countries of origin, transit, and host countries, as well as migrants, must reconcile their interests in terms of development and dignity, and also an upgraded cooperation that implies the commitment of all stakeholders to achieve a collective, efficient, and responsible management of migration issues.
If I may just ask, I mean, these reforms in Morocco is since 2013 or 2014, if I'm correct. What really prompted the country to take steps to make these reforms in the country's integration and immigration policy? Because previously, some years ago, the 2007, 8, okay, yeah.
How many times? Can you? How many times it takes?
Can you hear me? I was asking what prompted this reform in Morocco? What created the need for these reforms that you'll be talking about?
As I said at first, first of all, Morocco was cornered as seen as a country of transit and also a country of departure of migrants. We have more than 5 million Moroccans living abroad. But recently, in the two last decades, many people coming to Morocco, first of all, to transit to Europe, but they couldn't due to the restrictions, and they spent a long time in Morocco waiting for this opportunity. So we built this policy, this strategy, to give them a chance, an opportunity to make their life, a new life in Morocco, and to build all these programs of integration, education, leisure, health, housing, etc., giving them documentation to start a new life in Morocco.
Thank you very much. I will come back to Anna. Anna, if we want to evaluate the integration policies, like Mr. Skim have been saying, really the well-being of the immigrants and their access to opportunities and services is quite important, right? And if we look at the Finnish context, and with the recent discussion on diversity, equality, and inclusion, how will you evaluate the Finland's integration policy? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you for the question. Of course, there are many ways, many indicators you can look at when you look or when you want to see how well the integration policies work. I mean, we have both positive and negative examples. If you look at the possibilities of people to be integrated, for example, in the labor market. When you look at different groups, for example, you take international students that come to Finland to study, We have made recently quite many legislative changes in order to help our international students to stay and work in Finland. And we can see that nearly half of the international students who have graduated are currently employed in Finland. So you could see, and the development is positive. So I would say that this is a good example of
Anna, you said, sorry.
Of practices and developments that are
Anna, did I hear you correctly?
working well. Also, when you look at the general employment level of migrants, you
Hello, Anna, can you,
we know from
can you hear me?
statistics that the longer the people
Can you
stay,
hear me?
the better the possibilities are to be employed. Of course, there are quite many different groups coming here, and the employment levels of different groups differ quite a lot. So it's quite natural that people that come here to work have a very high employment level, where that come as refugees, the way into the labor market is.
Hello, Anna, we can't hear you very
As
well.
we know, integration is a dynamic.
Hello, Anna.
Society and the attitudes and the sort of service
Hello, can you hear me?
is available also, and
Can you hear me?
yeah, so the attitudes and the services available of
Anna, hello, your connection seems to be very,
people
very weak.
and the possibilities to be integrated into the labor
Hello?
market. Yeah, I don't. I can't hear you right now.
Yeah, we lost almost 80%, if not more, of what you just said.
I'll stop
Can
the
you hear me? Hello, Anna, can you hear me?
video if that helps. Let's see. I can't hear you that well.
Can you hear me?
Well, right now I cannot hear you.
1 second. Okay. Well, Mr. Aero, you want to help? I got the statistics from.
Hello.
Statistics from.
Okay.
From Anna.
Do you hear me better now?
Yes, we can hear you better now. But unfortunately, we lost almost everything you said earlier on. Will you want to make like a recap of the points you were trying to make briefly? Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, can you hear me better?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so I think the basic point is that, as the speakers before me have said, integration policies are a very cross-cutting issue. So we need to look at education policies, employment policies, migration policies all together. And a part of giving migrants the skills they need in the Finnish labor market, we also have to look at the receiving society and try to, for example, have an impact on the attitudes in the labor market, because we know that at this point we do have, for example, attitudes in the labor market that make it harder for certain groups of people to be employed.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Earlier on when you were speaking, you gave the statistic that 50% of immigrants that graduated from university finish higher institution, they have been able to find employment. That's over 50%. Is that a recent statistics? Because, I mean, in the context of Finland, I mean, with the discussion going on, unemployment of immigrants is one of the biggest issues that we are dealing. And if really there is the statistic that says over 50% of recent graduates have been able to find employment, I mean, I'm sure the listeners will want to know.
Yes, so this statistics was about international students that come to Finland to study. Yeah. So we know that about half of them are employed after they get graduated. And the government has now extended the permission for the international students so that they can stay up to 2 years after their graduation to try to find employment. But we know that the statistics for employment are, of course, different for different groups. So it's harder for refugees. The way into the labor market is much longer than for those people that come here to work or study. Okay, and that's, of course, quite natural.
Thank you. And I will quickly ask Mr. Aero, just to connect this immigration issues to integration again. So what do you think really of this idea that immigrants within Finland are struggling to find employment, for example, and like Hannah mentioned, changing attitude also within the citizens is also an important aspect of it. But at the same time, there is this immigration push to actively seek professionals outside Finland to move to Finland.
Sorry, let's change again.
Briefly, yeah.
Just to clarify, perhaps one thing that is I think is necessary in the discussion of migration and labor issues is that, for example, our Aliens Act or our legislation is nationality neutral. So anyone coming to Finland needs to fulfill the requirements, no matter what or which nationality he or she may have. Yeah. That may be different to southern European countries who do have nationality-focused labor-enticed programs at their disposal. For example, perhaps Morocco and Spain, they have a different kind of legislative possibilities than we do have. So we have, as I said, we have a neutral Aliens Act, which means that anyone fulfilling the requirements can enter. That is a good thing, but from the labor-wise, it can also be a negative, because we cannot target directly certain nationals in order to, for example, employ in certain national employment areas. So that makes a bit different from us to others. Yeah, from the European context, if I could just continue, from the European context, when you talk about labor migration, Finland is in a different position than other countries, not only language-wise, but also due to our legislation, because it differs from others. We cannot, if we talk about labor migration from Africa to Europe, what African countries normally demand from European countries is to have targeted labor programs and to increase labor migration. That is possible in some European countries, and it's been used. But in Finland, that is not possible. So only we can receive those nationals or citizens who fulfill the requirements, normal requirements that are needed in order to enter Finland.
So maybe this could be like an area of improvement, but also, if I understand correctly, in terms of actively seeking immigrants, professional immigrants to move to Finland, is it also nationality neutral? I mean, for example, the same push publicity to get immigrants from North America, for example, is it also being done in African countries?
Yes, that is correct. it is nationality neutral, which makes it a bit more difficult than in some other European countries.
And from the integration perspective also, I think statistics also have shown that there are certain nationals that are least likely to get employed. So the unemployment of immigrants is felt usually on particular nationals. So probably the policy will need to be skewed in a way to address unemployment, especially among certain groups. Probably this is something as a means for the Finnish policy to grow or to change or to look into, most probably.
I think we do have need for information improvement towards outside Finland. We are doing as much as possible with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with the Ministry of Labour, but it seems that we are perhaps not the best country to apply for migrants to look for labour, and I think we have much to improve in this respect. Yes.
But anyway, just to make it clear that, of course, definitely integration also challenges that immigrants face is also not just access to the labor market, but also, of course, they have intersecting sectors, like, for example, access to health, but also social issues in terms of discrimination or even racism also. But I'll quickly, I think this should be the last round, ask Mr. Skem, in the case of Morocco, what are the, I mean, if you can tell us briefly, like the challenges or, I mean, the opportunities, how you've been able to deal with the integration of different categories of immigrants. Because like Anna Broom pointed out, we have immigrants that move to the host country for studies, and there are some of them that are refugees. But she argued that this will have, of course, I guess that is true also, different integration experiences. So in the case of Morocco, how have you been able to manage these different categories of immigrants, both refugees and those that move to Morocco for studies? And how have you kind of integrated both immigrants into the society? Did you? I don't want to believe. Did you get me? Hello, Mr. Skem?
Yes. If I understand your question, is about how many categories of immigrants we have and how we deal with them.
Yeah. Have you been successful? So you can just briefly let us know. I think we have.
Yes, or the national strategy is open to all immigrants. But if you want, we have three different categories of migrants. There are categories that were in Morocco trying to transit to Europe, and they are convinced that their project failed. So this strategy is for them to start a new life in Morocco with different program of integration in education, housing, health, etc. Also, there are kind of immigrants that want to go to transit to Europe in different ways, and Morocco, as you know, has the responsibility to protect its borders, also to respect its commitments about its neighbors. So there are border monitoring, dismantling of networks that dismantling human trafficking and migrant smuggling networks, border monitoring, abortion of illegal departure attempts, and the rescue at sea, and also a program for people that want to return voluntarily return back to their country of origin. We have a program with the IOM for these people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scheme. I think once again, your points, the Moroccan experience, you've always emphasized the flexibility of management style as key to the integration rather than the different categories or the immigrants themselves and how they migrated. I think that is what I'm getting from you. If I ask Tatiana, this is the last take, what is your, especially from Tatiana, are you with me? Can you hear me? Okay, great. From the perspective of cooperation, what do you think will be the advantage of, for example, a bilateral arrangement between a country like Finland with some countries in Africa in terms of the integration of the immigrants from that country that lives within the host country? Will you vouch for bilateral agreement or will you prefer this neutral, nationality-neutral approach that Finland is taking?
Well, in Eastern Horn of Africa, we have formed almost a year and a half ago with the participation of the governments, the Regional Ministerial Forum on Migration, which advocates also for the use of bilateral labor migration agreements. Of course, you know, countries, they have the sovereign right to decide what and how they wish to engage with countries of origin, with countries of destination, and vice versa. Now, the framework of the bilateral labor migration agreements, it involves a variety of arrangements. I mean, BLAs, as we call them, the bilateral labor agreements, are more formal and legally binding, but there are options for countries to negotiate MOUs, cooperation agreements, and other kind of memorandum of understanding when they engage in pooling resources. The forms depend on the negotiation between two governments, in fact, because this is taking place on the level of ministers of foreign affairs, and of course in collaboration with ministries of interior, ministries of labor, and other ministries that are involved. And also, you know, they define the supply and demand. For example, what the country needs and what the countries of origin can provide as well on the needs of the countries of destination. However, what becomes important, and this is something that we are working recently, it's the notion of international migration law and human rights frameworks that can shape this kind of agreements. We have seen some cases of negotiations between different countries, not necessarily in the EU, but other regions as well, that sometimes when the agreements are on the level of simple agreements or memorandum of understanding, sometimes the migrants' rights are jeopardized. And people are found, you know, in difficult kind of situations. So as IOM would do advocate...
We have to, yeah, just when it was getting more interesting, but we've run out of time. So probably there will be questions. We can take questions, and then there may be a question that you could respond to in the same vein. Well, it was a panel about integration and immigration, and normally there's never enough time to discuss that. Yeah, but I want to thank my panelists. I think we'll move on to question and answer session. Probably it will further the discussion. So the floor is open for question. Salma.
Yes, good morning or good afternoon. My name is Dr. Ari Petäjävaara, and I would like to ask Mr. Eero a question that Finnish, it's a very strange language. Only 5 million people are speaking Finnish. So is it a word of learning Swedish? And Swedish is our second national language. When we discuss it about these records, how can we integrate in Finland?
Can you type the question so we can see it at least, because we cannot hear it well? Can you type it on the box, on the chat box?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
The question was directed to Mr. Eero, and is concerning the use of language as a means of integration. The gentleman asked if the use of Swedish will not make it easier to integrate immigrants in Finland, seeing as Finnish language is spoken only by 5 million people. I hope I got the question right.
Okay, I think I can give my answer, but I think that Anna Brun can give a better answer to this one. The question of language has been on the table for a long time. This is nothing new. We all are aware that Finnish language is not perhaps the language that most Europeans or globally want to learn. So if they come to Finland, they find it a bit strange that they will have to learn Finnish language. However, we have noticed also the phenomena that in the Swedish-speaking area of Finland, they tend to there's a tendency that those migrants, labor migrants who stay in that area, they tend to learn the Swedish language. I would personally would say that quicker than those who live in the Finnish area of Finland, and also they seem to integrate more or better in that area. And for especially the Swedish-speaking area where there is berry picking or farming or agriculture sector, there the migrants who arrive there seem to have more knowledge of the language that is necessary there than those that live in the Finnish-speaking area. But I think that Anna Brun can perhaps give a better answer to the overall discussion on the language. However, the language discussion continues. It's been there. It's been discussed for a long time, also in the public field, whether Finnish language is actually needed. Wouldn't one suffice only with the English language? I cannot predict what will happen in the future. I would see that there are certainly areas where Finnish language shouldn't be mandatory, that you could manage also very well with English. But the legislation stands as it is at the moment, and I'm not certain whether there is political will at the moment to change it. There certainly are political parties that are totally against changing that one, but also some that would like to have it changed. But perhaps Anna Brun can give a more precise answer to this one. Thank you.
Anna, do you want to add something to that?
Yes, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the answer altogether, but according to the Finnish Integration Act, it's possible to integrate in Finland both, or either in Finnish or in Swedish. Of course, as Mr. Koskaniemi answered, there are different areas where the languages are in a different role, and also we don't have services in all areas. So in Swedish-speaking areas, there are more courses in the Swedish language than there are, for example, in multilingual or bilingual areas. But if there are courses available, it is possible for the individual to actually learn the Swedish language. And some people also choose to learn both Finnish and Swedish. And it's of course always important to also look at the employment situation in each area. So what are the possibilities to find work in the Swedish language, for example, in the area where the migrant lives? Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Khalid Bentlib, Moroccan and Finnish citizen, and I am proud of it. I have mechanical engineer, and for more than 10 years I was working like as a supervisor in most known companies in urban transport. So I have dealing with many hundreds of foreigners workers, and I am very happy to, if I have time, to share with you this experience. I was hoped that if there is in panel more than ministry that gives a lot of what can I say, a lot of importance to this discussion. But anyway, I can say that I have been here in Finland more than 30 years, and I have been studying in Finland for more than 6 years. I can say that I love this country, and I want that Finland take a new vision and elaborate and develop a new vision, precisely as we have seen that Morocco has been successfully elaborating a new policy, and there is a good result. Maybe Finland, why not Finland, can share this experience with Morocco and share this experience with people living here in Finland, and they have a successful life here in Finland, to elaborate a new vision, a new approach, because I see with this speed of work, Finland cannot reach the goals quickly, because the global economic is growing so fast, and maybe Finland, if it's growing, making this speed so with this speed is not possible to reach the goals. So the question is there I hope that Finland can take courageously and with take contact or take measures to use foreigners, because I have experience with a lot of foreigners. I see that they haven't get yet the opportunity that they have and they should have here in this country. But I see that a lot of attractive measures that are done by Finnish authorities, but it's not enough to reach those goals. So if there is possibilities to use those experiences, Morocco, Africans, all foreigners living in Finland, in some meetings to discuss and to have enough time to discuss about this issue, that can lead to a new Finnish vision for foreigners. Because only legislative things they are done, but result they are still we have to still to wait. This is the first question. The second question, that are the foreigners a threat for Finland? I see that anybody can deviate from the right way if he feels himself not correctly what can I say? I try to translate from Arabic to French to English, but anyway, the threat, nobody can, some people can deviate. They are Finnish, foreigners, we are in the same level. Terrorism have no nationality. So that Finland had to do a lot of things in the grass field and to do a lot of job. Only to have politics and some things like that is good, but in the grass field, it must Finland to do the job. There is a lot of things to do. Are they ready to do something for that? Thank you.
Thank you. That was more of a comment. And I think that was more of a comment, and I think the point is clear that Finland needs to do more in terms of integration, and the attitude or approach to integration and to immigrants in the society needs to change, and that the time is now, and that Finland cannot delay anymore, and they could learn from the Moroccan perspective, experience on how they've managed to integrate immigrants and how they change their attitudes towards immigrants generally. Am I right in phrasing? Thank you. Maybe the next question. Is that all? Do we have questions online? No. None? Ah, okay.
My name is Fatima Usman. I'm coming from an organization called AFIS. My first question goes to Anna. I just wanted to know, how engaged are you with the NGOs, the immigrant NGOs in Finland, in your ministry? And then my second question is to the man who is like, I don't remember his name, from the foreign ministry. How well do you use the immigrants who are specialists in their profession here when negotiating a deal in their country, or Finland working with another country? How well do you use those professionals? Those are my two questions.
So I'll repeat the question for Anna. Hello, Anna, can you hear me? The first question was directed to you, and is how engaged is your ministry with NGOs in your goals, in achieving your goals of integration of immigrants?
Yes, thank you for a very important question. I hope you can hear me now. So the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Employment, we have established a program called the Partnership Program, which aims at increasing cooperation between different actors in the integration field. And we have a link to this program on our website, kotoutuminen.fi. So it's possible for different actors, different NGOs to participate in the events that we are organizing. For example, last week we had an event with the Arabic speaking community about a new vocabulary that we have given out a few weeks back. So we also had an event with the Russian-speaking community. So we are having this kind of common events with different NGOs and different communities on a regular basis. And also every time we are preparing a new policy, it is possible for different NGOs to give their views on the policies. This is something that the government does in every sector, but for of course in the integration field it's very important as well. We also work together with Ethno, which is the advisory board for ethnic and advice relations also.
Hello, Anna. Thank you. I think we can move on to the second question. Hello? Anna, can you type that we are moving to the second question? Okay, Mr. Harry, you can take the second question.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Alexandra. First of, yeah.
Just a minute, I think. Okay. Fatima, you had two questions? Yeah, so after this question, then we come to you.
If I can sort of answer to both of these questions from the Ministry of Interior point of view. Diaspora, we are also part of Ethno, as Anna, the organ Anna just mentioned. From the Ministry of Interior, we do have contacts and I would say rather regular discussions with NGOs on questions of migration and immigration. But as for diaspora, we have found a certain problem. For years, we have had several discussions on diaspora, but the problem we find ourselves before is we don't hear the clear voice of diaspora. There's been a long time. There was a parliament trying to be established, a migrant parliament, which somehow fell. I personally found it very interesting to hear what the parliament would have produced as a voice of diaspora. At the moment, what we hear is groups of people amongst the diasporas, how they feel, what their voice is. Especially certain nationalities that they are divided into certain or several groups which do have different voices which they present to us. So what we find difficult is we don't hear a clear voice or clear message. We hear different messages with, from on different areas. That we find a very annoying or difficult to move forward with a clear proposal. At the moment, what I see as a near future solution is we are at the moment discussing amongst ourselves to renew the legislation, the Migrant Aliens Act legislation. That is sort of in the pipeline. But to do that, we certainly need to hear the voices of the society. Not only those who have been living here for a long time, but also those who have recently arrived in Finland. And for that purpose, there will be a pre-survey for all to take part in, to see what they wish to have, what they wish to see to be the new Finnish aliens or migration legislation.
Thank you very much.
Something before we go to the other question.
Okay. Well, this will be the last.
Important issue from a perspective.
Yeah.
Sorry. So from a neighbor. Yes. Thank you. Just 2 words about this issue. I think I agree with that. And this is from a perspective of an embassy. Officials need a trigger, some kind of trigger to bring people participate in activities or themselves contribute to the activities. So we also request from our side some initiatives from diaspora, from associations, things that we can discuss and probably contribute to together with the concerned departments of migration or culture or whatever to assist or to contribute to these activities. This is, I think this is very important. We are not able all the time to know about what are the concerns or what is happening if we are not actually requested to that. The other thing, very briefly, I have just to give a very good example of cooperation between Finland and Morocco. And as we are in the pandemic framework, and also about flexibility from the Finnish authorities. At that time, we had something like 40 Moroccans who were stuck here in Finland. Most of them were students or family visitors or tourists. And there is, if I'm correct, probably there is European legislations and national legislation for the period of stay and where documents are expired, etc. At that time, we had a very good cooperation and positive approach and flexible approach from Finnish authorities to solve these 40 issues. It's 40, and there was even a budget at the stake. So many solutions in cooperation and discussion. We found solutions to these issues that were actually human issues and, if I may say, an unusual situations for those people. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry, there won't be time to take your question, but during the networking, please just wait around so you could ask the question. I think on that note, we want to close this panel, but I think the point is well taken, Mr. Aero. Africa organization, that is from the perspective of African immigrants, we need to work together We need to have a clear voice, and we need to be able to initiate activities or events that will promote integration. I want to leave us with this note. Recently, a friend asked me a question that why is it that when Europeans travel to African countries, they don't go through integration programs? We don't have NGOs in African countries that organizes for integration. Why is it that they don't have the same problems, the same issues there regarding integration that we have in European countries, even though we have all these discussions and associations working on integration? From my perspective, and everybody should have your own, and I mean, during the networking events, you can think about this, you can talk about it. But from my perspective, is that we need also, integration needs to focus more on the perception, the attitude of the citizen. It's a social setting. A European in Finland could be easily accepted without the government making moves or making any particular activity to promote the integration of that immigrant. But the people already warmly accept you into their midst, that it's easier for them to integrate. That's my own take. But this is something for you to think about. And with that, I want to close this panel, and I want to thank very much my panelists, starting with Anna Brun, Tatiana Adji, Emmanuel, Mr. Skim, and Mr. Ero. And thank you very much, Your Excellency, Ambassador of Morocco, for sponsoring and initiating even this type of panel discussion, and for being here with us throughout the whole program. For my audience, I say thank you very much for listening. Thank you. And cuts.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I would like to thank everybody for coming today, and we are sorry for all the technical difficulties that we had. Hopefully the next one will be better. Thank you for coming again, and the panel is closed, as my colleague said, and we would like to invite you for a coffee and some networking. Thank you so much.
Now is the time to ask the right questions. In any endeavor, there's always the ground and the tipping point. Ensuring stability for a high economy takeoff. People's trust towards their leaders and towards their will to uplift their societies. Investing in people to a better life. Giving an opportunity to develop their skills, their goals, and their vision to the world. Building infrastructure to connect within and reach the world. Calling for openness and make sure you have partners to trade with. And then there is the uniqueness. It could be your history. It could be your diversity. It could be how strategically you're located. It could be your culture. It could also be your dedication, or it could be your natural resources. But first and foremost, to reach the heights, you need a vision. Great ambitions. Stay focused and stick to the plan. Build upon the assets. Value the old and embrace the new. Keep on growing talents to face challenges. Always be sure you can fuel the growth. And that you have partners to overcome drawbacks together. Now is the time to be ahead. Now is the time for agility and sustainable acts. Now is your time. Now is the time to ask the right questions. In any endeavor, there's always the ground and the tipping point. Ensuring stability for a high economy takeoff. People's trust towards their leaders and towards their will to uplift their societies. Investing in people to a better life. Giving an opportunity to develop their skills, their goals, and their vision to the world. Building infrastructure to connect within and reach the world. Calling for openness and make sure you have partners to trade with. And then there is the uniqueness. It could be your history. It could be your diversity. It could be how strategically you're located. It could be your culture. It could also be your dedication, or it could be your natural resources. But first and foremost, to reach the heights, you need a vision. Great ambitions. Stay focused and stick to the plan. Build upon the assets. Value the old and embrace the new. Keep on growing talents to face challenges. Always be sure you can fuel the growth and that you have partners to overcome drawbacks together. Now is the time to be ahead. Now is the time for agility and sustainable acts. Now is your time.
Hi, I'm Leo, and I'm going to sing you a song that I wrote about 2 years ago at a time when I was feeling some despair. It's called Feel For Me, and I hope you enjoy it. Did you hear me say I was going away from the city, away from the hurting? Did you hear me say something like, I'm tired of life, I'm tired of failing? Did you hear me cry in the bedroom? Did you hear me scream in my pillows? Did you feel it? Did you feel the terror that runs through my veins? It runs through my veins. Day and night and day and night it says, baby, you're drowning in pain. You don't belong in this place. Ooh, 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 day and night and day and night. Did you hear me say I was leaving? Going for something a bit more relieving. Did you hear me say it was hard to stay on this planet, to stay with the living? Did it frighten you just a little? Did it make you feel just a little of the anger within? Yeah. Did it frighten you just a little? Did it make you feel just a little? For me, oh, 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 hear me say I was going away from the city, away from the hurting? Did you hear me say something like, I'm tired of lying, I'm tired of trying?
Hello, my name is Edeman Beketela. I am the founder and the owner of Inkuto Organics.
Welcome to Inkuto and the range of ecological, fair-traded products for your skin and hair. Inkuto is about empowerment. They utilize their own socio-economic business model to empower women in the developing world.
As a social entrepreneur, I'm proud to say that our business is helping and empowering a lot of people who are widows and orphans back in Africa, to be precise, in Ghana, where I come from.
Inkuto uses these fair-traded, unrefined and organic raw materials to create handmade products that enable people in Finland and elsewhere to use these gifts of nature to improve and enhance the health and elasticity of their skin and hair. Inkuto products do not contain any artificial ingredients, GMOs, mineral oils, SLSs or parabens. All the ingredients are from ecological sources and, wherever possible, from certified organic producers. Inkuto is stocked by most leading ecological retailers in Finland. Production capacity has increased roughly 40% year on year for the last 3 years. The range of products has expanded from just 10 years ago to approximately 30 today. This growth has been fueled by customers and creativity.
I tried this Shabbat, just a little bit, just a small amount, and I applied on my legs. And what I saw really good effects of this, because all this flour on my legs, it went off. And I could see the soft legs, and it lasted such a long time.
I had struggled with cystic acne for about a year, and then I used it, and it was the first thing that helped with my acne, and it cleared it out. Pretty much everything.
Every week I wash my hair with shampoo, and I use hair food to make it look better and manageable. I'm really proud of my hair.
Whether you are an individual consumer or a corporate customer, Inkuto can help you with your needs and demands. Choosing Inkuto products is a lifestyle choice that benefits you, benefits women and children in need, and benefits the planet we live on. Welcome to the Inkuto family.
Mama, the world has seen you travail. The world has seen you frail. But you are not destined to be a sad and pitiful tale. World, get ready to see Mama set sail. Mama, your majestic beauty, wildlife, and forestry never ceases to awaken our curiosity. It creates in us a longing to experience and see the sun-kissed Sahara, the astounding Mount Kilimanjaro, and so many more destinations in galore to behold and explore. Amazing people, cultures, and folklores. But more than just a magnificent destination, Mama Africa is the people of all 54 nations. Pan-Africanists the world over, who for Mama stand. It is the foreigners in your lands that you may sometimes neglect to understand. Each African must think of Africa with pride. Let's think Africa in each and every stride. Unite, crossing the divide. On common goals, fix our eyes so Africa's great future can be realized. Whether home or abroad, let us be in one accord, playing our parts to move Africa forward. Mama, the dawn of a new day is on the horizon. Your youth are filled with tenacity and imagination. They are zealous to get the job done. Mama, your future is bright. What can you do to help Mama take flight? Indeed, your future is bright. So dance, Mama, dance. Twirl, celebrate. For you, we will cooperate. You are about to give birth to some of the future leaders of the earth. So dance, smile, and hold steady. Remember, the future is Africa. Let's get ready.
Think Africa is a non-profit and non-governmental organization that was founded in 2014, and it was started by a group of students who were moved to make a change and break the stereotypes that, especially in Finland, Finnish society had of Africa and of African people, as well as support the integration of the African diaspora into the Finnish society.
When I read through the objective of the organization, it kind of aligned with my sort of advocacy and my mindset and the things that I want to see happen in African diaspora in terms of the empowerment and trying to create sustainable conditions.
So Think Africa provides a platform, and it's up to people to take advantage of that. So I've done that in multiple occasions, relating to either employability or entrepreneurship, with leading the Slush side events we've had, and then formulating together with the team this mentorship program that we've had for a couple years now, and that has been the way that I wanted to get involved. And it's just up to each person, how do you want to get involved, whether it's in these topics or other topics.
I really like Think Africa and its goals, because it brings together Africans, and there are not so many associations and entities which do that, and it is very active among Africans and in the Finnish society in general, to promote Africa and give also a realistic image of Africa.
We do think about Africa. We do want to take part in its development and growth. And with this, we have activities that where we collaborate with companies who are or with companies or organizations that are involved or doing activities on the continent. And we collaborate and also take part in development there as well, and carry out projects that support the growth of especially maybe startups. We have been focusing on that, but also we want to do more in that area.
We have an African saying that if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, you go alone. And so I believe in collectivism, I believe in a bandwagon, I believe in a collective approach. So for me, to promote the diaspora, the Africans' conditions and status in Finland or in the host country, for me is important.
The most important and positive things that have happened to me after joining Think Africa was shifting my mindset. And due to hearing so many progress limiting conversations concerning African diasporas, I believed that as long as I'm one of them, let's say I'm African diaspora, my professional growth and career growth is limited to a certain level. But after engaging with ambitious people who are from different diverse backgrounds, I came to realize that I can do anything no matter what, no matter my background. That is one thing that I've gotten from Think Africa, the shift of my mindset.
We work very well together, although we come from very different places. So it's a perfect opportunity for people to practice their communication skills, their teamwork skills in a multicultural environment and take initiative. Especially for young people who are starting their careers now, it's a perfect opportunity to showcase what they can do as well as learn more what they can do in practice.
I would say the biggest achievement so far of Think Africa is managing to create a platform which celebrates its diversity and actually is strengthened by its diversity.
So I think one should really join Think Africa if one wants to be a member of a community which is really engaged into connecting the Finnish and African societies and the Africans here with Finland.
I would say if you haven't joined Think Africa and haven't heard about it, and if you're new and you're an African in a diaspora and you feel alone or you feel you need a possibility to connect with people, you should join Think Africa. Because first of all, we humans are relational. We need pals to deal with. We need people who can connect us, people who can build us up, people who we can empower. So, as I said, you can, as a group, as a collective, you're able to change things quicker with a much stronger impact than doing it alone. This is the time to join. Come and look for your brothers and sisters and come together, as we say in Africa, Ubuntu or Harambe.
The only requirement to become a member of Think Africa is that you are moved by our mission and want to make a positive change in your society. Go to our website www.thinkafrica.fi, click the Join Us button, pay the annual membership fee, and the Think Africa family awaits to welcome you.